Tia, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. And welcome everybody to Set Real Talk Tuesday. I have Tia Norfleet. She is the first African American female NASCAR driver, and she has granted us the privilege of joining us tonight for Set Real Talk Tuesday. Tia, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Girl, I had to have you on because when I think of NASCAR, I don't think of black female race car drivers.
Right. You
And
probably don't
so,
think of black people, period.
well, no, not many, and we're seeing how the sport you have Austin Dillon who just won the Daytona 500, and we're seeing Danica Patrick her last time at Daytona. But what is going on with you? We want to know how you got your start in race car driving. I mean, I know I have a lead foot, drive a little fast. I'm not quite sure I could do NASCAR though, but for those young people or moms that are watching that have children and are just steering them into interest and finding out what they like, we want to hear from you because that might
Yes.
be for somebody. Representation matters, right?
Right. It does. It does. It definitely does. And I think we need more representation like that in the sport.
Absolutely. So here you are from Virginia. Where are you now?
I'm in Augusta, Georgia right now, like an hour and a half away from Atlanta.
Okay, so in the Atlanta area, Augusta. So tell us how you got your start in race car driving.
Well, my dad did some form of motorsports like throughout my whole life. He was a drag racer. He built motorcycles. He did any and everything that you possibly could think of in the motorsports world. So it was like second nature, to see him in his element growing up. And as I got older and I realized that, I can make a career out of this, I decided to do just that. But my first initial memory, as far as like being in a car, my dad, I had a Barbie Corvette, and he stripped the Barbie Corvette and he put a car battery in it. He put a radio. I had signal lights, even a phone. I had a phone in the car. So I would go, of course, faster than all of the other kids with their Power Wheels. So that was like, I think, the start of just, the adrenaline junkie side of me. So I think that's really what, started it all. And then as I got older, of course, when you're a child, your dreams and aspirations change all the time. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a singer. But when I realized that racing, was a passion, I was like, I can make a career out of this, and that's what I want to do.
Nice, nice. And for sure, I mean, so many of us dibble and dabble in different things. But for you, the race car driving, I mean, where did you start? Like, you had the adrenaline, found out you had a little passion for it, but how do you get into it?
For me, luckily for me, I had a father that already, been down a lot of different roads in motorsports and including NASCAR. So luckily for me, I had that somewhat of an advantage when it comes to actually the ground level of the sport, actually just getting your foot in it. But for an average person, you normally start in go-karts.
Okay.
And then they progress their way up. But for most people, you have to either be born into money or born into relationships. So,
Okay.
so for the average person, it could be discouraging. I'm not even gonna fake the funk. It could be very discouraging to someone that is unfamiliar with it.
So what is it about it that is so costly?
Everything. Unlike basketball and football, if you're a basketball player, you can go buy a ball and go to a local gym and perfect your craft all day.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I don't have that privilege because it literally costs to do everything. It costs to practice because it takes the same amount of gas, the same amount of tires, the same amount of everything, to conduct these cars and to even practice. So,
Okay.
and I think that's another thing that people don't understand about the business. They think that, oh, you get your license, you get qualified, boom, you're supposed to be racing every single race because, you have the license to do so, but they don't understand the dynamics of it and how it actually works. If you don't have a financial backing to push you, you're not going to go anywhere.
Got it. Guys, if you're just joining us for Set Real Talk Tuesday, I have Tia Norfleet. She's the first African American female NASCAR race car driver, and she's telling us how she got her start. We want to know what's going on in the NASCAR world, why we don't see as much diversity as we should or could or would like to, and what is it that we can do to change that. So you're telling us how to get into it. If you don't, it's a costly sport because you mentioned tires and the gas that it takes. So you have to either know someone, because if I want to, I don't have a race car. So you have to know someone that has the race car, or how does that work?
No, I mean, you could, what I like to tell people, most people start off in the go-karts, for instance, just to build their craft, because that's the least expensive option to keep your skills up to par.
So you would just find like a go-kart racing place in your area?
Not the regular go-karts. They call them bandoleros. Bandoleros is a little more faster and stuff like that. So most people start off with that, and then they try to progress up. And basically, it's kind of like a combine where you can actually get in front of different people and show your skills off, and then it's up to those people to work with you or not.
Nice.
So yeah, it can it can get difficult. You don't really have to have a car per se to be a race car driver. If you get yourself in front of someone that is in that arena, and you present yourself and you have the opportunity to show your skills off, then maybe they'll give you an opportunity to race one of their cars.
Nice. So guys, if you're just joining us, Set Real Talk Tuesday, Tia Norfleet, first African American female NASCAR driver, telling us how you can break into race car driving. Tag a friend, tag someone who is thinking about, what they want to do with themselves, or trying to steer their children into a particular direction. Those kids that love those Hot Wheels cars, little girls who want to play like Tia in the Barbie car, and just, have a penchant for going fast. Vroom. God, tag a friend. Join us for Set Real Talk Tuesday. But Tia, okay, so after you started with the go-kart and you had your dad to sort of guide you, NASCAR, was that on your radar from the beginning, or did that, you think like maybe I can get into this later?
Yeah, it was kind of a gradual thing, At first it was, I just want to race. And then as I got older, I realized, Tia, this is actually an avenue, this is actually a job. This is actually, something you can make a career out of. And then that's when I started to take it more seriously as not only a driver, but as a businesswoman. Because luckily, I had a father to teach me both sides. He taught me the business as well, because a lot of these athletes, they get into this industry or whatever industry they're in, and they just want to play football or they just want to play basketball, but then 10, 20 years down the road, they're broke because they didn't understand the business side of it.
True.
So grateful, I had a dad to teach me that side. So once I learned that I can really make a career out of this, that's when I really just start striving to be what I am today.
Yeah, guys, she got keys. That is real talk. Coming into it, you have the business side of it is just as important as having the talent.
Right.
So you being able to drive, but having someone that could steer you, in your father, and teaching you, the ropes. So what are some things from the business side of it that he was able to teach you that really helped you, gave you a leg up?
He taught me that, in this particular game, the NASCAR game, it's not all about everything that you do. Well, I'll put it like this. It's twofold. you have to do what you do on the track, but you also have to do what you do off the track. It's about branding, it's about marketing, it's about exposure, positive exposure. Because in this game, unlike any other game, it's really about who can bring the most positive exposure to a sponsor. When you think about it, let's just be real. Kudos to all the greats. I'm not trying to take anything from anyone or diminish anything from that anyone's achieved. But when you look at it from a business side, in NASCAR, you have, let's just say, for instance, Dale Earnhardt.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loves Dale Earnhardt. Everybody knows Dale Earnhardt. He's made a great name for himself. He's a household name in that sport.
Mm-hmm.
But he realized that he can bring positive exposure to his sponsor, but yet he hasn't won a race in years.
Okay.
So, that's where kind of you have to merge the two. It's not only about what you do on the track, it's what you also do off the track as well.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that he taught me that.
Nice. Okay, so who were some of your biggest sponsors when you were racing, and how did you get them?
That's the thing. I see these girls and these guys get sponsors just like that with no problem every day. But for me, it's a struggle. I have yet to have a major sponsor to this day.
Really?
Everything that we've done, we've pretty much done out of pocket. Family, friends, and so on and so forth. But no, I have yet to have a sponsor to this day. I'm still seeking sponsorship. And I find it ironic that, I'm still seeking sponsorship, but yet there's so many other newbies that get sponsorship just like that. So
do you think it may be because you're Black? And not to play.
It's because I think I'm not the traditional driver. One because I'm Black. One because I'm a woman. Two because I'm both of those.
Mm-hmm.
And also because I'm not the regular driver that they would go and get. I'm the urban chick that can conduct myself in the Waffle House and the White House.
Mm-hmm.
I'm, the real person that will go to Compton and, chop it up with the people in Compton or in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So, by me being that different from what they're normally used to, it could be a threat.
So, from my perspective though, instead of it being a threat, it seems like that would be something that you would want to gain eyeballs. Because
Same
if
thing
I knew
here.
that there was somebody that looked like me in you that is driving cars, I would want to cheer for you. It would be like, me cheering for Serena or,
Right.
Serena Williams playing tennis, or, you know what I mean? Like, knowing that here you are on this track. And guys, if you are just tuning in for Set Real Talk Tuesday and you are not following Tia Norfleet, I want you to follow her so that we can really, help her to gain some exposure. What can we do to help? In a perfect world, what would you like to see us do to help you to get the exposure that you need?
I just would really like the support from my community, and I get it. I get a lot of support. My main support is from my community and from my
Mm-hmm.
people. But I think the lack of, like you said, exposure to the masses, is kind of hurtful. So, I mean, I just really would like everybody to support me, rally behind me, because I feel like it needs to be a change within the sport. NASCAR has been around for decades, and I can count on one hand how many African American men has ever been in the sport. And this sport has been around over 70 years.
Wow.
And it's 2018, and I still can say that I'm the first African American woman. I think that should open people's eyes just alone. Like, why aren't we involved in this? Why aren't we a part of this sport? Why aren't we a forefront of this? Because we, as minorities, we contribute a lot to the automotive industry, period, for
Absolutely.
us not to be involved. So my whole campaign and my whole motto is to just open up those doors and start to enlighten people and educate them on how this particular system works.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of us are, ignorant to this particular system.
Sure.
And I think if they knew what really went on and what was really going on, they would want to rally behind me and, just stand up for what's right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you say rally behind, you have those people that are like, Well, with Tia, there was this controversy. Tia, I want you to be real with us because this is
I
Set
love
Real
it.
Talk Tuesday. So I need to know from you, okay, we find out Tia has a record. Or, Tia, in representing herself, she may not be as clean cut or as, cookie cutter as what they're used to. Tell us, what, defend yourself. Let us hear from you, your perspective. What is your, rebuttal to the naysayers?
Oh, I've said this over and over again. Who is perfect? No one is perfect. And the things that they were referring to in that article, I'm gonna just be real. That was a New York Times article. It was an op-ed piece. And ironically, the two people that did that article, one was a guy by the name of Marcus Jadot, who worked for NASCAR's diversity program, and the other one was a woman who was a journalist for NASCAR, and she has a history of just bashing African Americans within the sport. I'm not the first person she did like that. She has a history of bashing African Americans.
Mm.
So the guy Marcus Jadot had a personal vendetta against me because I didn't go through the diversity program in NASCAR. Now, mind you, a little education. NASCAR created a diversity
Yes.
program.
Educate. I
They
don't
create,
know. Guys, if you're watching and you don't know, say yes. Let us know.
yeah, they created a program for diversity, right, to be more inclusive. Now, this program has been around for years, but yet they've never taken in I look at it honestly, and I'm gonna just be real. It's a joke to keep people's mouth quiet about diversity in NASCAR. So it's like a token program because you don't have any true diversity. You get 5 white men and 1 white girl, and that's your diversity. What part of that is diverse? There's no African Americans, no, like real strong Latina presence in it. It's just there to keep
So
people.
when you say in it, sitting in the group to sort
They
of,
train the drivers.
okay,
It's like a driver development program for diversity drivers,
got it.
where they would bring them in, train them up, and then try to help them to the top. But that's never been the case. You bring them in, you sit them on the shelf, just so you can justify the $13 million a year that you're getting for these drivers, but you're not doing anything with them. So I chose to go the independent route because what they had for me was not for me. And they didn't want to work with me anyway because they felt like they couldn't control me. So long story short, because of the lack of control, now it goes back to the $13 million that they get. Marcus Jadot was getting $13 million a year for their drivers. I was getting no $1 million a year. And I had more of a following and more exposure than all of their drivers put together. How can you explain that? He couldn't explain it. Secondly, he was the same guy telling people that my sponsors, he would call down to NASCAR to do due diligence, and the call would be directed to him, and he would tell people that I wasn't licensed, which was a lie, a bold-faced lie. I have all the receipts, I have all the proof, I have everything that verifies what I'm saying. So he got together and they wanted to slander me because if you look in the article, if you read it, it contradicts itself throughout the whole thing. First, it says that, and then mind you, they never talked to anyone that was a power player or a decision maker in NASCAR. They talked to only one person, which was Marcus Shadot, over the diversity program, which was merely an employee. He's not a decision maker. He had a personal vendetta against me from the beginning because he had a personal vendetta against my dad. So, yeah, he had a personal vendetta against him because a long time ago, my dad sued NASCAR because they took money from him, not NASCAR as a whole, but they took money from him and refused to let him race. So in order to get his money back, he had to go through a lawsuit. So then that's when the blackballing started with my dad. And of course, it trickled down to me because I wear the same last name. Mm-hmm. So long story short, that entire article was, one, contradictory. 2, it was to bash me and slander my name and my credibility so that I wouldn't get a sponsor. So if I don't get a sponsor, they figure, hey, I'm dead in the water anyway. What can she do? She can't do anything. She can't race. She can't do anything because she doesn't have the money to do it. But if you read the article, it said that I'm not quoting it, but it said that I ran a 1 or 2 laps in a race. But in the sentence before that, it said that I wasn't licensed. So how can I run 1 or 2 laps in a race if I'm not licensed to do so? How can I even start the race if I'm not qualified? And as far as the 1 or 2 laps that I did do, if I could send you a link. It's called a start and park, which is a legal play in NASCAR. And the reason I had to do a start and park for that particular race is because Marcus Jadot told my sponsor that I wasn't licensed. So my sponsor pulled out the day of the race. So I had no other choice but to do a start and park. But now the season just started in February. In the top tiers of NASCAR, they have several drivers doing start and parks every race.
So tell us, for those of us that are new to NASCAR and the racing, what exactly is a start and park?
A start and park is where you start the race, you run a few laps, and you park because you don't have the financial backing to cover the entire race. Okay. Mind you, I did have the financial backing to cover it until it was sabotaged. So I had no other choice but to do a start and park.
So but if you look at so that, as you're racing, sometimes things happen, accidents or, things with the wheels go on, and you have your pit crew that is able to help you to, quickly get back on the track. So if you don't have the sponsor that can back your entire race, you have to start and go as far as you can and then park.
Exactly.
So guys, that makes sense for you guys that are just joining us for Set Real Talk Tuesday. I have Tia Norfleet, first African-American female NASCAR driver. And it's interesting that, like you said, NASCAR's been around so many years and never had a Black woman NASCAR driver until you.
And you can probably count on your hand. No, well, you can count on your hand how many Black men have been in it. In 70 years, they've been, 5 Black men? Wendell Scott, Willie T. Ribbs, Bill Lester, my dad, Bubba Wallace.
And we saw how emotional, it was so moving to watch Bubba in the last race. So for you, what's next? Like now, knowing everything that's gone on, from the sabotage to the, inability to really keep your sponsors on board because of, what you're saying is sabotage. Now what?
I must say that the guy who did all of that negative stuff to me, he was fired. But again, the damage was already done. Okay. So I just wanted to add that to that. He no longer works there because of the things he's done to me and also the things he's done to other drivers. So what's next for me? I just did an event with Lexus. I just did a piece with Harper's Bazaar. I have a piece coming out on in the Huffington Post. I have a potential sponsor in Colorado that I'm actually going to meet with this week. And I have 2 other teams that are looking to sign me as a driver. And I have 2 reality shows that reached out to me that want me to participate in that. So for me, I'm just grinding as usual. Still, just trying to make a presence on the track. Mm-hmm. Trying to get that sponsorship that I need to make a real presence. Because when I do what I'm gonna do and how I'm gonna do it, it's gonna be very big in a big way, but a positive all the way around. But it's gonna stand for something, and they know it's gonna stand for something. Because what I'm doing is creating a movement, and I'm going to have a movement behind me when I show up and I show out. So what I am going to, right now, the exposure is going through the roof. I'm getting a lot of new eyes on me and a lot of different things that I'm doing. And I'm just grinding, man. I'm trying to make a way, not only for myself, but for other people that look like me.
Nice. It had been quiet for a while when you hear Tia Norfleet, not a whole lot of rumbling, But now, I just feel like I wanted to have you to come on and tell us what you had going on. Are you making a comeback? And what can we do to support? So of course, guys, follow. It's Tia underscore. Tell us your handle on Instagram.
It's Tia underscore 34.
Tia underscore 34. Follow her on Instagram so we can keep up with what you got going on.
Please
Are
do.
you practicing? Like, how does that work? Are you hitting the track and, making sure that you can hit those corners? Like, how does it work?
Yeah. Well, for me right now, what I'm doing is I'm just trying to solidify that bag to
Secure the
get
bag.
me, to get me on the track and consistently running. Consistent, because I get a lot of slack. One for that New York Times article, because it just like, and not to keep hashing it, but I have to explain, over and over again, I'm getting a lot of slack from people because they're like, Tia, you're not on the track, you're not doing this, but they just don't understand. Like, it takes sponsorship for me to do anything. And I have to keep repeating that because it's like people don't get it. It takes sponsorship for me to practice. It takes sponsorship for me to race. So what I've been doing, I've been talking to different teams, and I actually was in Ohio a few weeks ago with the team. And what we do to try to keep the skills up to par is get in those go-karts. Mm-hmm. Get in a go-kart to keep your skills up to par from a tight end, scenario, mm-hmm. where you're tight into it and you just tires and is gripping. And I also, I've done a little practicing in Ohio. I've done some in different tracks up and down the East Coast. So now I'm just at the point where I'm just trying to solidify that one sponsor that is going to just take me to the moon and back.
Nice. Well, guys, if you're watching Set Real Talk Tuesday, we have Tia Norfleet, first African-American female NASCAR driver. You may be thinking, I can help her. I got a few bags. I can, let go of one. Well, she's looking for a sponsor. So put that in the back of your head because you might know somebody that knows somebody, and we want to support.
And it's tax deductible. So
ooh, there you go. And it's tax deductible. So, we got to have a presence in NASCAR diversity. We're even seeing just from the recent Oscars, watching Kobe Bryant win his Oscar, first African-American to win for, that category. And then Jordan Peele. Guys, diversity is so important, and being able to see somebody that looks like you, that's doing, whatever it is. You can't really imagine it if you can't see somebody that's doing it. And so kudos to you, Tia, for following the dream and getting out there and hitting that track.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes. So is there anything that you're doing in the community?
Yes, I'm always doing something in the community. I actually have a young lady that I'm teaming up with out of Ohio, and it's hashtag foster care.
Okay.
You should. I don't know. That's her Instagram as well. Like the whole word hashtag foster care.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we're working with the foster youth, and we actually got Rock Nation to send over some clothes because we're gonna do a clothing drive at a go-kart place in Ohio, and we're going to bring out some foster kids because, with the foster kids, a lot of them, especially with today's society, everybody wants to dress so nice, and everybody, is dressed from head to toe, and they're fly, and, some kids can't afford that, and they're in situations where they don't have a parent to buy that for them. So some of them result into stealing and, trying to keep up with the fashion. So that's what we want to kind of just try to combat that in any kind of way that we can. So we want to do like I said, a clothing drive at the go-kart rink in Ohio, just to give back to the kids and give them some nice things to wear, have a little fun in the mix.
Showing that you care. So well-rounded, got your community involvement going, got to get your sponsors, getting back on the track, doing the go-kart racing. I appreciate you for taking the time to come on to share with us for Set Real Talk Tuesday.
Thank you for having me. I will say that I'm not only going to be in NASCAR. I'm going to I'm branching off into all different forms of racing and all different forms of motorsports. So keep a lookout. You never know where you're gonna see me or what kind of wheel I'll be behind.
All right, motorsport. Y'all know that song, right? Okay. Tia, thank you again for joining us. Guys, tuning in, follow Tia on Instagram. Are you on Twitter?
Nah, I am, but I'm not really active. I'm mainly on Instagram, Facebook. Okay. Yeah.
Got it. So guys, hit her up, Tia Norfleet. We're gonna keep up with you and your story, providing just some representation for us. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Guys, tune in next week, same time, same place for Set Real Talk Tuesday. We're gonna let Tia go, but Tia, we want to have you again.
Yes, please. I would love to come again. Hopefully we won't have as much trouble with our
Yes. Guys, we had some technical difficulties, but she was able to come on and we are here, and I thank you for just being patient, and we hashed it all out. Made it happen. So we're going to let Tia go. Thank you for joining us for Set Real Talk Tuesday. Tia, you're set.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
I appreciate it.
No problem. My pleasure. Guys, good night. Good night, Tia.
Good night. Thank you.
Yes.